topic. Have you been denied a promotion? How to handle common interview federal agency questions. It's very interesting as an employment lawyer, and a number of our clients are employees at federal agencies. They go for promotion, stuff like that. They don't get it, and it leads to different kinds of cases. But today's topic is just simply, and this is based on what we've seen over the many years of doing this, what are just common questions you would get applying for a federal promotion or a federal job, and what's the best way to handle them. And no matter what the agency, what I have found is that generally these questions are kind of all the same. And there are some tips that I think I can give just based on the numbers of cases that I've seen and the alleged reasons someone did better at an interview than somebody else. Question number one, what makes you the best candidate for this position? Okay, what in the hell are these people looking for from me when I get that question? Because there's so many talented people out there, and there's so many solid people. People who are generally going for GS-14, GS-15 positions. I mean, you're going to be competing generally against people who are pretty good also. Essentially, what the interview panel is looking for is some unique talent, experience, knowledge base that you have that nobody else does. If you say something like, hey, I worked at headquarters and I also worked at 3 different field offices and I handled 7 different kinds of cases, 4 of them made national news and we won every one of them. Okay, that is a really, really strong answer, especially if you can talk about those cases. If you give an answer something like, well, I've got the dedication, I've got the commitment, I mean, so does everybody. That doesn't tell the interview panel anything. So that's one thing you want to do, is you want to use whatever experience you've had and play that up. This is why in the federal government, people on the go, people on the move, people who want to get promoted, what do? They seek details. They want to get different kinds of experience. Those details can be very important. And your TDY or whatever it is, if you don't get it, yeah, people can sue over that, because these are the types of things that will separate one candidate from another. But at that interview room, you have to be able to talk about your unique skill. Another question, typical in almost every agency. Tell us about a project that you did. Tell us about a specific project. Why did you start the project? What did you learn? What were the results? Who did you meet? Did you work with other teams? The more detail that you can bring to that answer, that's what they're looking for. If you show a mastery of something, some individual thing that you did, which is really key, or maybe a few, go ahead, talk about that. Again, generalities at interviews lose. Another question, and it's the same kind of question over and over. It's just different forms of it. Give us an example of a professional development you've undertaken in the last few years. What did you learn from that? Who did you meet? How did you apply X, Y, and Z knowledge, whatever? Same idea. You're going to go ahead and you're going to talk about your unique skill set. And everybody in the federal government has some unique thing that they do. Pretty much everybody in the business world, everybody has, if you're paying attention to what you're doing at your job, you should be able to come up with lots and lots of things that you've done that other people haven't. Simply by chance, simply by coincidence. It's just the way it works. You're going to get something to work on, some project that other people are not going to have. And going into that interview, you should know about that project. You should be able to talk about it. This is your chance. You can talk over these people's heads. They're not going to know anything about that project, or very little compared to what you know. You've got to talk about that. It's imperative that you not only study your resume at these things, but you study your past experiences at your jobs. You go back to, maybe you want to open up some of these files if they're still available that you worked on 6 months ago, and really talk about something that was unique, that brings something new to the table. And I guarantee you, okay, I don't, I'm not a recruiter or anything like that. It's not what I do. I'm an employment lawyer. But I guarantee you, based on the answers that I have seen of supposedly who gets hired and yada, 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 this is what happens. This is what they're looking for. The litigation comes in when my guy has explained all that. My guy has done all that. And he's the most qualified, and they still don't promote the guy due to his race or nationality or gender or whatever. But generally speaking, people have the opportunity to really talk about those things. Okay, then there are some interview questions that are just going to be the technical stuff. Okay, your job as whatever it is, BDDY, is going to do the execute. There's going to be some certain regulation that they're going to have. And how does doing that project, or what are the challenges that you see in following that regulation or something like that? Yeah, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to really understand and just review some of the laws, some of the regulations, some of the rules, some of the things. They will test you on some of this stuff. And you have to be able to know the stuff. So again, there might be policies you haven't looked at in 5 years. Look at them. Review them. Everything at these things is on the table. We have cases where the allegation is, yeah, the other guy did better at the interview. You know why? Because the people they wanted to promote got the questions in advance. They knew what to look for. Okay? They knew what to look up. But that is what there should be, a general knowledge of whatever policy, and you got to be able to articulate that. You got to be able to explain it. Then there's another question. This I think they could, put on the Miss America contest. I think, not that I've seen that thing in 20 years, but there's some question, not how would you bring about world peace, but how would you promote the mission of this agency? Okay, that's just a general thing. Some of these questions are so damn subjective. Okay, leadership. Why do you think you have the best leadership? And again, this is where some of the litigation comes in, is why did you like this guy's subjective response to the answer better than mine? So I think for these, I call them the Miss America questions. You want to say something coherent. You want to say something enthusiastic. You want to say something optimistic. You want to have read a policy or read something about the mission so that you know what that mission is. And then you can talk about, again, something from your experience that can fulfill that mission or make it a better. Finally, this is a really interesting one. I learned this when I went to business school, undergrad in New York, the Sim School of Business, part of Yeshiva University. This is going back in, 1980s. I learned this from the dean of that school. And he was dead on. I don't even remember this guy's name. He was dead on. He says, you get a question at the end of the interview. Do you have any questions for us? Have some questions. If nothing else, it shows interest. If you leave and say no, what you're doing is on their score sheets, they're just going to say, had no questions. How high can we score this guy compared to the selectee? And if you're bringing any sort of race case or gender case or national origin case, if you didn't ask any questions and the other guy did, that doesn't mean you lose. I mean, but if there are 10 questions, you're going to lose 10% of your chance of getting that job. And there are all kinds of things you can ask. What does a typical day look like? What training and opportunities are there for me here? Where do you see this component going? What are you trying to build? Stuff like that. I mean, again, as long as you say something coherent, well thought out, something that shows interest, that you care about this. I mean, I was looking at one of these. The guy said, well, let me tell you something. I just want you to know that I missed training so I could be here at this interview. There are different ways of looking at that. One panelist might say, wow, that shows dedication. This guy really wants the job. Another panelist might say, how irresponsible is that? You missed training to come here for an interview? That's not very responsible. You don't want to say anything like that. But what you do want to say is, again, interest, enthusiasm, coherence, something where that you leave that place where the panelists look at themselves and they say something like, this person's in the game. This person gave some really good answers. This person is someone I think we could consider for this. If you have been passed over for a promotion and believe you're the product of discrimination or retaliation or whistleblowing, give us a call. We can help. And we also invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And also, we invite you to send any comments you may have if you want to hear future podcasts on some issue that's really important to you that we haven't done yet. Let us know that, and we can do that.